Hi there, in this video I'm going to show you something very interesting. I'm going to tell you on how to create a data story using AI agents. So we are going to give some data to an AI agent which is going to produce a nice looking dashboard like this, which is also telling a data story. So for example, this particular data story is how to discover hidden patterns behind customer departures. But this is just an example. So let us build an agent which is going to create a data story, and it is also going to represent it in a nice way. So I'm going to use my platform called as datajarvis.ai, where you can visually build agents which can do very powerful things, and it is free to get started. So let us first start logging into the platform. So once you are logged in, you will see a list of agents what you have created, and let us start by creating a new agent. So an agent is basically an access to a large language model and access to some tools. So you can think of the agent which has got access to large language model as the brain, and then the tools is like hands where the actual things are happening. So first of all, let us configure the large language model, and here you see a large language model, and we can go and select this Data Jarvis free. And to give you an idea on what is this large language model, you can go to Model Hub, and here you'll see that Data Jarvis free corresponds to the Claude HiQ 4.5 large language model. Now let us go back to the builder, and here you'll also see a list of tools. So we can use various tools such as clustering, we can use data analysis, we can use describe data sets, get column names, outlier analysis. So we can use all these tools which is going to help us create this nice looking data story. And to give you an example on what this tool is, you can go to the tool hub, and here you can see list of different tools. So let us take just an example that clustering in fact is a Python function which tries to find cluster in the data, and here I'm using this algorithm called as k-means. So first I'm loading the data set, I'm then finding what are the numerical columns and categorical columns. I'm applying some pre-processing, and once the pre-processing is done, I'm applying a k-means clustering, which is then giving an output of the cluster summary as well as what the information about all the clusters as well as the average value for each cluster. So like this, I have tools for data analysis, I have tools to get column names as well as outlier analysis, and we are going to use all these tools in order to produce a nice looking data story. Now before I give a prompt, let us also look at the data which we'll be using. So here I'm going to use a data set which is on telecommunication customers. So this data has got various information such as the customer gender, it has got a different profile of the customer, as well as it has got information related to the tenure, like how long the customer is with the company, as well as it has got different information related to the services which the customer has, as well as the payment information. Now with this background, we are going to ask the agent to build a data story using the data as well as using all the different tools. So I'm going to give a prompt such as, so my prompt is use the data set telco underscore customers, use all the tools to create a very compelling data story, put the data story into a nice looking HTML dashboard, and use the tabs in the dashboard to convey the data story. And you can use dark mode because this is my preferred way of visualization. So let us now launch this prompt and let us see what the agent is going to do. So first it is telling that I'll create a data story, compelling data story using the telco customer data set with all available tools. And first it is going to start by exploring the data. So it is going to access the tool which helps to explore the data such as describe data set and get column name. So let us approve this request of the agent. Now that it has got all the information about different columns, it is going to use different tools such as data analysis, as well as it is going to ask various questions to this data analysis, like what is the overall churn rate and how many customers are churning versus staying, which internet services has got the highest churn rate. So as you can see that it has gone into all the different columns. It has, based on this, it has come out with some very interesting questions which are very pertinent to creating data stories. In addition, it is also going to use clustering as well as outlier analysis to add some flavor to this data story. So let us now approve this request and resume. Now, as you can see that it has already created some CSV files on outlier and clustering analysis. Now, it is going to go further to get more insights. It is going to check on what is the average monthly and total charges of churn versus retained customers. It is also going to go and ask on how many customers have tech support and what is the churn rate. So it seems that it is gathering the data, it is doing analysis, and based on that it is asking some additional questions based on insights what it has found. So this is pretty powerful, because the agent is looking at the data, it is analyzing it, and it is also then asking additional questions in order to develop a complete data story. So now it is telling that it has got all the information. So it is now going to create a compelling HTML dashboard with dark mode and tabs to tell the data story. So let us also approve this. So now it has completed the task, and let us see what is the exciting data story it has created. So let us now open this, and you can see that it is a nice looking dashboard, and it has also got the title of the story, which is Understanding the Customer Retention Patterns and Risk Factors. So it starts with an executive overview, and this executive overview has identified the churn rate to be very important, which is a very interesting data story angle which it has taken. And it has also given what were the total monthly charges across all customers and the retained customers. So here you also have some nice visualization which talks about the churn customer versus the retained customers. And you can also see that it has given a red color to the churn customers. This is also very interesting. It also went ahead and chose the right visualization colors which are necessary. It has also given some information related to the gender count, as well as it has also given a key finding that with 26.5% churn rate, the company is losing approximately 1 in 4 customers. So this is a very important information for the executives. So this represents a significant business risk that requires immediate attention. The data reveals the patterns in customer behavior that can be leveraged to improve the retention. So you can see that it has given some very interesting key findings in the executive summary. Now let us continue the data story, and here it is all about double clicking on why the customers are churning. So for example, here you can see an bar graph of the retained customers versus the churn customers, and then it is also giving the churn rate by tenure. And you can see that customers who are with a tenure, a very less tenure of 0 to 6 months, have a very high churn rate. And then it has found a critical discovery that the first 6 months are very important, because customers in the first 6 months have a very high churn rate of 54.2%, which is more than double the overall average. So this is a very interesting insight what it has brought in, and it is suggesting that you should invest in customer onboarding to prevent massive losses. It has also then analyzed the contract effect. So you can see that month-to-month contract has got the highest churn rate. And then it has also given the insights that 47.2% of churn rate for month-to-month contract versus only 2.8 churn rate for 2-year contract. And you can also see that the color what it has chosen, red and green, also makes you see where the danger is. And this is a very good way of data storytelling, where it is also using the data insights as well as mixing it with colors so that the data story can be very compelling. So here you can also see the churn rate by different internet services type, and here you can also see the churn rate by the payment, and then it has also come out with various information related to insights of churn related to the payment information as well as the internet service type. So this is pretty fascinating. As you can see that we went from simple prompt to making some very powerful insights, and this is thanks to the different tools which are available to the agent. And here you can also see now that what are the different customer segments. So here it has used the clustering tool which has identified different clusters, and it has identified customers segments which are at low risk as well as very low risk, as well as it has also determined which clusters have got medium risk and critical risk of churning. So this is, you can see that this is the power of combining various tools, combining data analysis and clustering to give very powerful information on where the focus should be. Because it's good to know that churn is high, but then how do you reduce the churn rate? And this is where clustering comes in, where you can focus on segments which are at high risk, and you can focus all your efforts to make sure that this risk is reduced. So once again, it is giving this segmentation strategy on how to find the most critical segment and then kind of focus on removing the risk for that particular segment. Now you can also see the use of anomalies and outliers. So it has detected a 352 anomalies, which is 5% of customer base, and then it has also indicated that what are these normal customers versus outlier customers. And you can also see this visual information based on different visualization. And then it is very important that it has also identified that what are these outliers. So these outliers are basically customers who have got very high churn rate, as well as these customers are paying a low monthly charges, and they also have a kind of a slightly higher tenure. So this is a very important insight, that you have customers who are long term with you, but they are also going to have a very high churn rate. So this is very critical. You do not want your loyal customers to be leaving, and the possible reasons which has happened is possibly there is a pricing plan error, or for example you might want to give some special promotion to these customers in order to retain them. And it is also proposing some actions which can be taken on outliers, is to audit, like first of all, why you have customers who are long term with you are now suddenly thinking of leaving you, as well as it is also recommending to create a retention program and a service review for all these customers. So this is pretty powerful, and it has also made a very strategic recommendations combining all these steps. So the priority one is the first 6 months are very critical. Priority 2 is to check the electronic check payment intervention. Priority 3 is to for the contract length promotion, as well as the priority 4 is to add-on services, create add-on services to retain the customers, and the priority 5, which is investigating the cluster 3, the anomaly cluster, where you have different customers who are very high risk of churning. And then the priority 6 is investigate into these fiber optic services, because fiber optic internet services is showing some elevated churn rates. And then it also has an overall impact projection that if your current state is 26.5, if you want to reach a target state of 18 to 20%, you can achieve an expected saving, and you can have a very good impact on the revenue, because you are going to improve your revenue by almost about 600k to 800k if you manage to reduce the current churn rate from 26 to 18 to 20%. So if you are going to communicate this data story to executives, I'm sure that your executives are going to be impressed, and they are going to understand the value of agentic AI on data analysis as well as creating this data story. So hopefully you like this video, and there was a lot of information which the agent has given. And now I would like you to try out datajarvis.ai. Give your data, give a prompt about creating different stories, try to use different tools, and see the magic of going from data to a powerful, compelling data story. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, Please consider subscribing to the channel and like and comment on the video, and see you soon in another exciting video where I'll show you on how to build another exciting agent. Thank you.